A crowded room is a high-bandwidth sensory load. For some, the sheer volume of micro-expressions, overlapping conversations, and environmental noise becomes physically taxing, requiring hours of quiet recovery to reset the nervous system. When you struggle to function in these high-stimulus environments, society relies on a specific set of labels. You are often categorized as lazy, antisocial, or a chronic overthinker. Internalizing these labels leads to a logical assumption that your social programming contains a glitch or a defect that prevents you from operating like the majority of the population. Psychology offers a different framework for these behaviors. These specific traits characterize a cognitive configuration that prioritizes high-fidelity information processing over social conformity. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the three specific phases of this mental architecture: how data enters the brain, how it is analyzed, and how it is ultimately turned into action. This shift in perspective moves the focus away from social failure and toward the mechanics of a specialized biological system. The first node is input, the filter determining what enters conscious awareness. This brain finds crowds exhausting because it cannot turn off observing social cues. It automatically tracks the dissonance between words and body language, sorting people by authenticity or deception. While most people accept a projected persona at face value to keep an interaction simple, this mind continues to gather data on the hidden motivations and emotional states beneath the surface. This same high-fidelity filter applies to information. Instead of following social trends or popular interests, this mind gathers data based on deep, isolated curiosity, ignoring anything that doesn't meet its internal criteria for relevance. The result is a much denser, more complex dataset than the average person has to manage, which places a significant load on the next stage of the pipeline. Dense data requires immense internal resources to manage. This leads us to the processing phase, where the mind attempts to organize and understand the high-volume input it has collected. Because this brain is tracking such specific details, like the true intent behind a conversation, it hits a ceiling in social settings. The mental fatigue of crowds isn't a sign of weakness, but of an analytical system reaching its processing limit. Solitude serves as a biological requirement to clear that queue. Without constant external noise, the brain redirects energy toward highest analytical functions. This is where deep thinking occurs. The mind refuses to stop at surface-level observations. It aggressively analyzes the deeper mechanics, the why and how behind every concept and interaction. Society views this level of analysis as unnecessary or intrusive, labeling the process as overthinking because it exceeds the standard depth of social interaction. In this framework, isolation is the metabolic price of running a system that prioritizes depth over speed. The final stage is output, where internal analysis translates into deliberate action. The system performs a rigorous cost-benefit analysis before releasing energy. If the brain finds no logical reason to perform a task, it remains idle, a state outsiders misidentify as laziness. This selectivity conflicts with a society that expects immediate, blind productivity. The mind appears stationary because it is waiting for a high-value signal before it commits to an action. This deliberate approach also produces high emotional control. By observing a situation fully before reacting, the mind builds a buffer against impulsive or high-stress responses. This delay in response is not apathy. Instead, it is the signature of a system that has been optimized for precision rather than reaction time. When we view these traits as a single, connected pipeline, the isolation and selectivity stop looking like flaws and start looking like a specialized biological strategy. If you recognize 3 or 4 of these markers in your own life, you are operating with a cognitive configuration that is statistically rare. The friction you feel in standard environments is the result of attempting to run high-fidelity processes in a world designed for surface-level interaction. Understanding this structure allows you to stop fighting against your own biology. You can stop trying to force a system built for depth to mimic the habits of those built for speed. Recognizing the value of your selective energy and your need for deep analysis is the first step in using your specific cognitive configuration effectively.